As promised, we're doing our coffee tea dyeing tutorial today. Bear with us. I've never edited a video, and it's kind of hard to have the camera set up over there and trying to do it over here. What you'll need
Could be
is...
kind of scary.
Yeah, kind of scary. Whatever. You're going to need... We use parchment paper. You're going to need a huge pot to boil.
It's got water in it.
We have our fabric. We just have a yard of
each.
Our yard each of Monaco. Again, use caution if you're doing this on a different kind of fabric than what we've tried. If you've got a favorite fabric, use a little piece to test it. Don't be using a whole piece just because we've never dyed anything else but even weave Monaco. You're going to need black tea bags. We use Lipton. You can get a bigger box for them at an economical price.
We use about 10 for this pot.
My stepdad used to travel a lot to different hotels for his job, so he got to well, he still does. He gets to pick up, but a lot of hotels don't
have gone to
use
Curry
this now. Yeah, but they're instant.
He would always bring us these coffee. Well, he would bring them home to me because he wanted me to put them out in my flower beds for the hydrangeas. So he would always take the coffee out of the room every day and bring me home packages of coffee,
which we used to use, and now we just use
because they're like tea bags.
This is instant. We just stirred in the pot before we put our stuff in there. Okay, so what we first do is get the pot
water to boiling.
Right. So you want to fill the pot up. We do it about halfway. Then we put in our tea bags and our coffee, and then we put a little bit more water on top so that the fabric is submerged.
And we just take the tea bags out of the package and just throw them in. You can throw those in before it boils, but the coffee you should probably
wait
except for these bags, which I think I'll add 2 of these in there. How many do we used to do these? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah. We like our fabric dark, so we use a little bit more maybe than you want to. You can try. Should have had that ready, Priscilla. So again, tea bags just floating in the water.
The coffee, it comes like in a little bag that you get in a hotel.
Okay. I didn't say you're also going to need some cookie sheets.
Right, to put in the oven, and we put parchment paper on the cookie sheets.
While you've got your fabric on here, you can preheat your oven to 200 degrees. Right? 200.
There's another one of those coffee bags.
We're going to wait till this gets hot, and then we'll add in our instant coffee. Okay, so it has been brought up to a boil. That's just the tea bags and
those 2 little coffee bags.
2 coffee pouches.
And this is the color of it right now without the instant coffee in it, so it's pretty dark. And if you're doing smaller pieces of fabric, I don't think you need to use the quantities of coffee and tea that we use, but since we each dye a yard at a time, we want it to be dark, we do this. So we've got 1/3 of a cup of coffee.
So it's instant coffee. It's like $1.98 for this canister, which is really economical and it'll last you a while depending on how much fabric you're using. You pour it in. You want to make sure that you're using a spoon so you don't rupture any of the tea bags, because those tea bags won't dissolve. This coffee will dissolve the tea bags.
Yeah, it's bad when the tea bags get ruptured because then your fabric gets covered with all that stuff, and we actually don't rinse ours, so.
Right. So then again, we're going to kind of let this sit for just a couple seconds, and then we're going to add in our fabric.
Okay, let's go. I've already turned it down to really low because you don't want it boiling when you got your fabric in it, but you want it still hot. And then we'll see if the water that we've prepared covers the fabric or if we need to add more.
And you kind of just push it down with the spoon. Your house will smell really good through this process too. It's really hard to get the angle, so sorry you can't see my face. Okay, and then I'm going to move the camera over and show you. So that's only one. I've got to put hers in. And you just kind of wad it up in there. You don't fold it or anything. Just kind of wad it up. And the plain water she's adding in will take on the tea and coffee.
Yeah, because we got a lot of stuff in that mixture.
Right away. So you can already see the color of it. But you just want to push it down so that it's fully covered. And again, your oven is on for 200 degrees. You've got, depending on how much fabric you're doing, you're going to need some baking sheets. We have 2 baking sheets.
Covered with parchment paper, and then we use tongs too to pull the fabric in and out of the pot to see if it's dark enough.
But again, watch out for the tea bags. Don't rupture the tea bags. That's a pain in the butt to get off of there. We're going to add a little bit more water. We're going to let this cook for, I cook mine for about a half an hour because I like mine really dark. Would you say?
You just need to keep checking it. It depends. I mean, different fabrics might be different, and you just got to check. See how it's all covered in the liquid?
And we've got our
And I'm going to turn it up a little bit because of the cold or the water that was added.
On simmer.
That was boiling.
So it's on simmer.
But you don't want it to be like boiling and
Over.
Yeah. I worry about that a little bit because of maybe making my fabric smaller, but it does get a little bit smaller anyway.
Smaller, but not severely. Okay, so we will be back once this has cooked for a little bit longer to see what the color process is. Okay, so this has cooked for about 30 minutes. It's been on the stove. We like it a little bit darker. Make sure that you're checking it often to see if you've got it to the right temperature. Don't sit on the couch and watch Flosstube and get carried away and forget about
between the lines.
Flosstube. I said, hey mom, we should probably check that fabric. Oh god. Okay, so you take
our oven is set to 200 degrees.
And you're gonna be messy. You just kind of let it drip a little and then move it onto the baking sheet.
Okay, then we'll do the other one and then we'll show you how we arrange it.
So
I've been tea and coffee dyeing my fabric for a long time, and I never knew about putting it in the oven until I read Vanna's blog where she shows her, you got a tea bag, stick to that right here. She showed her baste and bake video.
I don't think it's video, I think it's blog.
Oh, blog. Sorry, blog. Where she teaches you how to do that. But anyway,
she started by like dabbing the wet tea bags onto fabric. That was her first one where she started that.
I don't know, like 10 years ago.
If you want a light effect, you can do that. Just get a tea bag wet and place it all over. When I'm at home, I actually used iced tea bags from Lipton as well because they're bigger and I can use less of them.
I'm trying to use up all my Lipton little tea bags because I don't drink Lipton anymore. I'm a Tazo person.
Tazo tea. Okay, so now this is where, sorry, I didn't turn off my notifications for Instagram. The modeling comes in. So this fabric is very hot, but what you're going to need to do is...
You could let it cool down too. It doesn't have to go in the oven right away.
No, but we just get stuff done because we got a lot of stitching to do, right?
But we like to wrinkle it up really good and like tuck the edges under a little bit so that they don't get crispy.
Okay, so
and once we set it in this position, we don't move it and we don't pour any liquid on it or anything else. It just stays this way, and that's how we get the good modeling because we don't move it around.
All right, and so you scrunch it up, and then when you've scrunched it up, you're going to have places that are a lot higher than the rest. You're going to need to push those down because when it's in the oven, those top pieces will burn quicker than the bottom pieces. You want modeling, you don't want burnt. Speaking from experience.
We don't ever burn. But this is what it looks like all scrunched up. And then it goes in the oven. And we usually start it about a half an hour. And then most of the time after the half an hour, if I think it's dark enough, then I'll shut the oven off and I'll just leave it sit in there to dry it a little bit more.
Again, I like mine darker, so I leave it in a lot longer.
But start checking it at a half an hour.
At a half an hour. Light oven. Don't move it around once you've got it on. Here. Have your mom re-scrunch it for you.
And then because we put 2 trays in the oven, we like change one from bottom to top.
Rotate them.
Right.
Rotate them. This isn't like a cooking show where we have a fake oven and a new one appears. That'd be nice. Okay, so that's the process. So again, you need a big pot of boiling water. Mix in as many tea bags as you think. Just start looking at the water.
We started with 10, and we did 1/3 of a cup of instant coffee, plus we had those 2 little coffee tea bag things from the hotels. And then I must have added another tablespoon of coffee because it wasn't getting
ours dark.
And then this pot of stuff, I pour in my garden after it cools off because coffee and tea is good for your
plants.
And soil.
And soil. Okay, so you have it boil. Once it's boiling, you turn the stove down to like simmer. You add in your fabric. Make sure that it's covered with water all the way to the top, so you might need to add more water in there. Use tongs to push it down so you're not burning your hands. And then once you've gotten the color, the desired color that you want of the darkness, it'll also darken a tiny bit in the oven. So if it's not
it gets quite a bit darker in the oven.
I'll say a little bit darker. So then after that, you just pull it out of the water, drain it off a little bit. We don't wash it, we don't rinse it, we don't do anything like that. You scrunch it up on top of the nonstick parchment paper on a baking sheet. Make sure you press it down so the edges aren't getting burnt. Cook it in the oven at 200 degrees for
at least a half an hour.
At least a half an hour. Check it to see what you think once you've pulled that out. You won't see a lot of the modeling until it's completely dry. If it's not dry once you take it out of the oven after a half an hour, then you just set it outside to dry or set it, like she said, over a kitchen chair.
I have convection setting on my oven, which means that there's a fan running, so I do use that. So that would be a little bit higher of a temperature than the 200, or you can use 200 on your regular oven.
So Lord forgive our first tutorial, we are a hot mess. But this is how we tea, coffee dye all of our fabric, so now you know. Okay, so it is sat in the oven for 45 minutes. Again, we like our fabric darker, so if you don't want it this dark, don't leave it in.
And we switched from top to bottom, so that adds time too.
So a lot of this is wrinkles, but you can see the modeling on it. And there will be one side, the side that was up in the pan is going to be darker than the side that was on the parchment paper.
So sometimes we use this side, sometimes we use that side. It just depends on what we're stitching.
These aren't all dry, so they will be going on the kitchen chair because it's raining outside today. That's it.
Okay.
Easy process. Tag us in your fabric choices if this is what you're doing. Let us know. Thanks.
And don't forget to go enter the giveaway on our last video. And
for our winter stitch along.
Right. And there's a hashtag underneath that was added, and I can't think of anything else, but we'll see you next Saturday for the giveaway.
Bye.
Thank you.